Thanks, Mindy, and hi, everyone. As you can see from what I wear, I'm from Southeast Asia. We have no winter. So although it's a bit sunny outside, for me it's still cold. All right. So before we start, since this is my first time speaking in Melbourne, let me take out my notes so I can do the acknowledgement of country in a proper way. So I'd like to begin by acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respect to their elder, past and present. So, I'm from Southeast Asia, where technically the culture is so collective. We see a lot of people living together and also using the app together. But when I learn more about it, when I'm designing more and more, trying to understand the experience there, it's not really a Southeast Asian thing. It's a human thing. And I believe it's something that we can learn together here and also inspire all of you to design a product in Australia. So the problem with that is most of the apps are built for me and not for us. Maybe you can reflect from the last 2 or 3 apps that you used today or maybe yesterday. Most of it is around, I want to book for my ride. I want to order for my food. I want to pay for my transaction. I want to listen for my favorite music. But in Southeast Asia, life is deeply communal. We see a lot of people dining out together, ordering food together, share the rides. And most of the digital products don't really reflect that reality. For example, we see a lot of this problem where we call it booking on behalf of others. It's as simple as, for example, I have a Grab account or Uber account here, and then I meet strangers or elders that can't really use the app for some reason. It could be, for example, the SIM card is not working yet, there is some OTP issue, or even the user is not that tech savvy to use the app. Then usually we will help those person to book the ride or even like ordering food, for example, through our account. It sounds simple. It sounds quite normal. But there are potential problems. For example, if there is something happen with that person on the way to the destination, the system will detect it will be me who have that problem instead of that person. And if, for example, this person is a bad guy and doing some criminal, then it will be me who help them and then have those kind of, follow-up problems. So it's not that easy to enable this experience in Southeast Asia, mainly where the users using the app together. The most common thing is also about multiple login issue. We observe a lot of people using shared device, or even shared login account together. And somehow they need to, for example, like log out and then log in on another device and etc. And the most common thing is the wrong personalization. One common mistake that me and my friend often did is usually to set a smart TV at home by our own, for example, like YouTube account. And then when we revisit, then the personalization goes wrong. For example, my son loves to watch cartoon, and then the whole experience on YouTube will be this cartoon, which is not really my thing. So when we ignore that community, we exclude how people really live together. As you can see on the image, we see, for example, like people manually doing the calculation to split bill and then send the bill to each of the person when they're eating out together. Or, for example, children waiting for their taxi because they don't have any information. What they have is simply the plate number from the WhatsApp message from the parent, and there is no visibility where the drivers are, and etc. So it becomes more and more confusing. So by learning all of that behavior that we see at Grab, we design how people actually live together, from the merchant in Malaysia, the driver in Bangkok, a group of people traveling together to Bali, for example, for holiday. We try to learn how these people live together and use the technology together. One of the examples that we released last year is called Family Count. It's something that enables an independent booking, but still connected. Imagine, for example, I set my own family group, and then I invite my parents, maybe my friends who are visiting me, or my children to join that group, and they can seamlessly book without thinking about payment, for example, because everything will be routed into my payment method. Or for example, my parent is not used to this kind of like tech or app, which is sometimes a bit tricky to find the POI or find the drop-off point, pickup point. And then I really need to book on behalf of her. Then technically she can see from their app all the things that they need to do to get a ride car. That's it. And the rest will be handled by the system. On top of it, we also thinking more about the specific use case around teens. A lot of people in Southeast Asia want help or need a help to pick up or drop off their son or their children at school. And they need specific, like safe transportation mechanism to enable that. And how we can really build this feature into the family group or family account through all the safety measurement that we release to make sure everything will be safe. For example, from the audio protect or voice protection, and then PIN mechanism so that the kid or the children can verify whether this is the right driver that picked me up, or even three-way chat, group chat. So me as a parent, I will know all the chats that happen with my kid, between my kid and also the drivers. And even, for example, if the drivers want to pick up my parents, I can communicate, hey, my parent has this special condition, please take care and do this, for example. So it becomes a lot more easier. Another example that is quite fun, we call it like food group order. It feels like, something quite common happening. For example, we want to have a tea time together, or we want to have a lunch together. Previously, it's either one person trying to collect all the order from everyone and then do the food ordering and then manually split the payment, which is not really cool. Or another way to do this, all the people simply order their own food, and then it becomes a bit more expensive because everyone needs to pay their own delivery fee. So what we are doing here, it's as simple as one person can set up a specific group order and then can broadcast to their circle, for example, and then they can start ordering and then, for example, doing all the split pay, tracking, monitoring of the order, editing, adding, deleting, those kind of stuff. One big lesson learned that, in my view, is quite different with what I learned previously. As a tech person, usually we want to design an experience with a lot of control. For example, we can only start when everyone joins. We can only finish the order when everyone adds the items. It's not really working, trust me. We should design for chaos. Just let them do whatever they want. They want to add food, edit, re-add, join, rejoin, and all the stuff. And then trying to figure out how system works for them instead of the other way around. Systems should be able to help that behavior. For example, let's say I have 4 people ordering with me, and I have my boss, which is quite busy, and he is still in the meeting and didn't order. Instead of pinging him, I can make, for example, through the system, alerting the boss that, hey, you need to order now, otherwise we will leave you. So you see, it's not a bad thing for me. Yeah, I will say, oh, it's how the system works. And then he just, do the order. And maybe the most beautiful part of it, let's say we initiate the order, then he suddenly doing a late order, and then we still see, the driver is still quite far, and the merchant still be able to prepare the order. We should flexibly add that order into the existing one so that we can, satisfy the needs for the group order while also giving more revenue for the merchants. And the most important part here, community doesn't just use the product, it builds it. And I think this is one of the superpower of Grab in building what we call Grab Maps. I can say this is one of the best maps in Southeast Asia. I'm not selling my product, but logically, it's true. We have a lot of two-wheeler drivers driving across the alley around the region, even for places that allow us to do some imagery recording. We have this, what we call Karta Cam. Technically, it's a camera that can help the driver capturing image so we can give a better information, mainly for the last mile navigation. So it becomes more makes sense why this maps is getting better and better, because the community built it together while doing their work. And they see the value. The more information that we give into this platform, the more beneficial for us. As a passenger, as a user, I will know all the point of location that is already mapped into the Grab apps. As drivers, I will get an updated, most effective routes to complete my job, and even the last mile navigation. One of the biggest challenges that we see in our driver experience is decoding the last miles. For example, you arrive in a specific area, but you don't really know where to put the food or where to put the things or even where to pick up. We have a lot of this kind of like manual interaction happening. For example, the chat between the drivers and passenger, asking the exact location or exact guidance. And also maybe asking the strangers, hey, where is it? Where is this part, Or even asking their friends through the group chat. So we are trying to capture all of this data and then do some, what we call like knowledge mining. And then we will try to map it into the real-time information within the map. So for example, let's say we just send a package here in Sofitel, and then we don't know where to put the package because there are a lot of doors, a lot of security, so we don't know where to put, right? And then let's say one or two drivers have the same experience, then our system, through the AI, can smartly detect, oh, this is the right behavior based on last 2, 5, or 10 orders. For any orders that is delivered to Sofitel, this is the place to put the items. Then we inform that to broader group of the drivers. So you see how the behavior of one or two person really shape up or even like help up the whole community by doing this data integration. So one of, I can say, a good example here is how we can, create an experience that let the feedback flow naturally. In this example, it's a real time. Imagine you are driving a two-wheelers or four-wheelers. Then technically you can't really click on the phone, right? It will be like very dangerous, mainly if it's raining. What we are doing here, we create an AI assistant who can detect the voice. For example, like, hi Grab, I want to do this, I want to do that. Or for example, I want to report there is a roadblock in front of me, for example. And then the system will smartly detect those conversations. And then what we do is through some validation. It's quite common. For example, what we call a driver validation. So we use the community, for example, the drivers around the driver who reported, another drivers within that area, and then giving a bottom sheet or pop-up to ask, hey, is there truly a roadblock in front of you? That's one input. Second input, we have this what we call like Karta desk cam. Technically, it's a desk cam technology that we embed into the vehicle. And then through some technology, they can detect whether this is true or no. For example, is it a flooding? Is it a heavy rain? Or whether there is a roadblock in front of them. And then we also do this kind of like smart thing called a passability check. We will detect, for example, whether drivers that are routed into that direction can really pass that route, for example, or that street. If it's possible, then we also detect that as a success. But if it's not, for example, they turn or find another way, then we see there are some problems into the routing that we recommended previously. So we try to gather all of this information, and then we convert it in real time to our Grab maps. So imagine as a driver, you are driving there, and then suddenly there is a pop-up, hey, we changed the route because of a roadblock or a flooding or whatever reason that they have. So this is how community is not only using the app, but also building the app together. And the product love or customer love becomes more and more higher because of this. They will see this as something that we need to build together, something that can help a broader group of people and making a better income for the whole community. It's really good. And from business perspective, imagine in Southeast Asia, we are trying to serve hundreds of millions users. And some of it requires some special assistance in using the app. It could be elder, it could be teen, it could be children. So we are utilizing this community, an adult, tech savvy, who are using Grab or Uber almost every day, then ask them to bring those people outside of this circle to also use or experience the product as a part of the community. And gradually, they will learn to use the product more and more, and we serve more users because of that. And we see a more engaged users because of that. So the question that I want all of us to reflect is like, what if the tech or the app that you built could bring us together and not pull us apart? Imagine in a dinner table, instead of each person just playing with their own app, somehow they play together, making it more fun, making all the actual or natural community experience that they did already a long time ago, even before the app, even before a tech era, can be more fun because of tech. So tech should bring them together and not bring us apart. And the last key message that I learned across all of this experience in building the community product or communal experience, we need to stop designing for the user. Let's start designing for a relationship. It doesn't have to be a multi-user, for example, the same passenger ordering food. You need to see, okay, for example, this is an ecosystem with multiple user type. We have user, end user, we have driver, we have merchant. If a user's order 10 boxes of big pizza, how come one driver can do that to deliver the food? How we can enable other drivers to help this driver and then do sharing income? And then we will inform the users, hey, because this is a large order, you need to pay more because we bring you more driver. Of course, as a user, I want to do it because it just makes sense. And for driver, it's better income. For merchant, it's also better income. So let's try to think about this. And I hope it can really inspire all of us here. And I would love to see more and more community experience in the app, mainly in Australia. Thank you.